Hey, and welcome back to the Fully Booked Photographer Even podcast. And in this episode, we're on the second part of our 9-session series. I can't even get the words out. I'm struggling today, lads. The 9 keys to running a successful photography business. And in this one, we're going to talk about the really important aspect of marketing. But before we do that, and before Jonathan, Brad, and Janine jump in, I want to tell you a story. I can see them cringing now. They hate when I tell stories. But I want to tell you a story about something we see a lot in business. And this is not just for photographers. This is in every business, right? So I want to tell you a story that we've christened the roller coaster effect. And Brad and Janine love roller coasters, and Jonathan is scared sugarless of them, as am I. So we have a difference there. But the roller coaster effect in business is this principle of, and if you're like me, you know this. So you're going up the road, you've no business, right? So you get working hard in your marketing, your selling, and you get busier and busier, and the roller coaster's going up and up and up and up. And you're busy. So you stop marketing and selling, and then what happens? The roller coaster goes down and you've no business. Yeah. So you're on this constant roller coaster loop of being busy, being quiet, being busy, being quiet, being busy, being quiet. And you never get that consistency in your business of being busy all year round, being fully booked all year round, right? And we know this is possible. And as I said, this is not just unique to photographers, but it's just a mindset thing that, and Brad talked about it in our last podcast, that sometimes we stop marketing because he has a plan. Even when he's busy, he's still marketing. He's still generating those leads. So Brad, tell us about that. Tell us about that aha moment you had, right, in your marketing, that you realized the importance of proactive marketing and why this is important to the business and the difference it's made to your business.
Sure thing, Ronan. I'd love to. And it's quite funny that now I can quite comfortably call it an aha moment. At the time, I'm not going to swear on podcast, but the moment was fear. It was pure fear that I suddenly saw or could foresee my business completely crashing all around me. When I entered my family business, it was 2013, 14. It was like the height of Groupon, or Groupon's golden days, where essentially we had to do no marketing. We didn't have proactive marketing because we didn't need it. We were selling hundreds, if not thousands, of Groupon vouchers every year. That was completely booking out our studio. So my job when I first started in the business was answering the phone, which sounds alien now. Customers were calling us. I didn't have to phone customers to speak to them, to book them in. They were phoning me. And I was booking them into our diary and then working it through the system. And then suddenly overnight that just ended. Groupon decided that they no longer wanted to not just deal with my studio but photographers UK wide. Nobody was going to be featured, so then that meant no more 2,000 vouchers sold on Groupon this year. And we needed, we were doing around 1,000 clients a year then, so we're selling 2,000 vouchers to essentially book 1,000 clients in. I suddenly had a huge amount of volume to come up with quickly. And at the time, I pestered my dad just enough for him to let me test a few Facebook ads. It was by testing those ads that we got some limited success from it. So then it just became quite a big shift from relying on essentially not being in control of our own marketing, relying on an outsourced company to handle it, to then us being in the driving seat of. And we were fortunate that we had some bleed time from all those old Groupon sessions, because although we stopped, we still had some sold, so we still had work in the diary for the next few months. So that gave me the time, and there's no better motivator than fear, to work out how to run ads on Facebook and start delivering them consistently.
So has that taken out the roller coaster effect for you then? Has that allowed you to take that out of your business, or does it still exist? It's just not quite as exciting a roller coaster, or maybe exciting is the wrong word. It's not quite as terrifying.
The roller coaster still exists in my business because I want it to exist. That's a very key thing to understand, is that my business is quiet when I'm not in my business. And when I'm not in my business, I'm in Florida, having fun with the mouse. And I'm with my parents and my wonderful soon-to-be wife, and we're having fun with Mickey and the gang. Because that's what we want to do. And I don't have staff in my business to manage it when I'm not there. So that's a choice. So my business is still a roller coaster, but because I choose it to be.
It's not really though, because when you're working, it's not a roller coaster. So when the studio is open, it's not a roller coaster.
No, exactly. When we're open, it's the same boring 10 months every year. And then when we pick those 8 weeks that we want to go on holiday, that's when we see a dip in revenue. But every other week will essentially be the same week, given a small range.
Alrighty. And taking control of your marketing has allowed you turn your business into a non-roller coaster, so you can have 2 months off to ride every roller coaster.
Exactly that. It's wonderful, really, because mastering and taking control of my business has essentially freed me and my family. We work because we want to work, not because we have to work. I can take as much time off or as little time off as I like. I get to spend many weeks a year in my favourite place with my favourite people. All because I decided to take control of my marketing and essentially have a really boring, consistent way to get clients in.
This word consistent keeps coming up. All right, so Janine, talk to us about your marketing, right? Because I know you've trained with the best marketeers, right, in our industry. You've trained with the best marketeers outside our industry, and now you train photographers to be as good as you are. So talk to us about that. What difference has marketing made to your business, and what when was that moment where you realized that, sugar, this is more important than I doing retouching on files or editing files or, doing all that stuff that really doesn't add the value that's required by our clients if they're going to invest with us?
So it's interesting, Ronan. My aha moment was a little bit different than Brad's, but not too far off. It was, I've always studied marketing. I like marketing for me. I love the art and science of it, always have. So it's never been something that I've avoided. But all of my training for a long time was reactive marketing, not proactive marketing. And all the techniques that existed were reactive. Even going to shows and collecting names and or doing direct mail or having ads out in a magazine. That's all reactive. You're waiting for the phone to ring. The most proactive, once I learned how to do promotional marketing, and we talked about Bill Sorensen and how he flipped everything on its end on going out and going after the leads to come into your studio. That's when my aha moment happened, because I had great plans. I had great offers. I had great themes for my studio. And I remember sitting one day and I'm like, I just need 5 babies a month to join my plan. How hard can this be? Seriously, 5. In a city of 4 million. How hard can it be to find 5 babies? And I remember thinking this, I'm like, why is this so hard? Why won't the phone just ring? I have everything out there. People won't call me. I don't understand. And after coming back from one of his workshops, I was like, oh, they're never going to call. I have to call them. I have to go out in the community and find a way to collect their information with an offer so that I now have control on who comes in the studio. And that was my aha moment. It was changing from waiting for them to call me to me finding a way to call them. And so before Facebook, before the internet, not before the internet, although my kids love to tease me that I was alive before the internet and they don't understand how that happened. In fact, James even asked me if I was alive before the telephone. And I'm like, no. Let's not take it that far. But I was alive before the internet. And so, but anyways, before Facebook, I digress, sorry. When we had to figure out ways to go out and find people so that it was consistent, that we were going out and figuring out how we can collect batches of names to then take control and make the phone calls out. And back then it was just phone calls. We sent some emails, but it still wasn't as common as emailing and text messaging is now. Text messaging wasn't even a thing. So it was truly going out, going to an event, having an offer, having people fill out a form to win that offer. And everybody was a winner, clearly, right? It was register for a complimentary children's portrait session in our studio. Well, now we'll let you know, we'll notify you by mail or phone. And everybody was a winner, clearly, right? We wanted to fill our studio. So we might have collected 75 names at an event. 75 letters went out, 75 phone calls went out. We called everyone the week after. Guess what? You won a session to our studio. And we would fill our studio the following month with those clients that we booked. Here's the problem. You're reliant upon an event date that you don't control. So our studio calendar was great, and we became really good at filling the studio. We became really great at filling the studio when there were events out there that we could attend. When it was auction season, when it was event season, when it was those times of year. And then we were still struggling in the times when it wasn't. And so that's where that happened. And so when Facebook really came on the scene for us, and that's when, with you guys, that's when, Jonathan, 4 years ago now, when we started really working on how to take these offers I was doing in person and putting them online, well, guess what? Now I'm not reliant upon the events that other people control. I now even have more control because I am controlling the offer. And I'm controlling when it goes out. So I make the plan, I set the ads, I run them, and then now I have the names every week to be able to fill my studio, and I turn them off and it's almost like a faucet, although I never turn things off completely, but it is a faucet. You can put on more when you need more water, and you can spin it back when you need less. And so it's an on and off system, and I can never be looking at my calendar and looking at the phone and hoping it'll ring again.
I love that. Love that. Thank you, Janine. That's a great description of. I love the idea of the faucet or the tap being turned on and off. I think that's a great analogy. So, Jonathan, talk to us about this marketing thing, because you've a lot of contact with our Fully Booked Photographer members, both when they come in and do our training, when they come in and do our coaching and mentorship. And then when some of them book us for concierge, where we run our marketing for them, what's the key considerations? If I want to become serious about my business as a photographer, and I want to create a successful business, and I want to take my dreams for my business and turn them into a reality, what do I need to do with my marketing? Like, where do I start, Jonathan?
Start with your why and your who.
Your what?
Your woo and your why. Your why and your who.
Go on, what do you mean by that?
I mean, you have to understand why are you a photographer? If you don't understand why you're a photographer, how can you bring your ideal client into your world and transform their lives if you don't understand why you're doing it? You have to understand why you're in this business. Why are you a photographer? You have to understand who you serve. So, in other words, your ideal client. What do they desire the most? How can what you do help them achieve those desires, or move away from pain and frustrations or towards wants and aspirations? How does your photography have that transformation in their lives, or help them achieve that transformation? Brad and Janine both understand that perfectly. You need to know your numbers. Yes, you need a marketing budget, especially if you're running Facebook ads. That can be a bit scary for photographers, not that realization that they actually need a marketing budget. But if you don't plan, advertising is all about numbers. It's a numbers game. You need to understand, what you're able to pay per booking as it relates to your average sales value, as it relates to all your conversion rates, from like new leads to bookings to any movement there to sales. You need to consider your offer. Once you consider your offer, you need to consider your ad copy. You need to consider if you're running a funnel, or what style of campaign you're running. There's so many things you need to consider when you're doing your marketing, your online marketing, but they're all critical. And if you don't spend the time to take your time at figuring out all of those different aspects, it's going to break. If one piece is missing, it's like the domino effect. It's just going to pull everything else down. And sometimes you can get lucky. That's happened before. You might run the worst ad in the world, set it up completely wrong, and you somehow achieve results. And that's just luck, and luck does happen. Unicorns do exist sometimes. But if you don't have that proper structure in place and fully understand, your why, your who, your offers, your system, your process in your marketing, then it's doomed to fail in the long run. Because you'll run out of luck eventually.
So, wow. There was a lot in that, guys. I think we're not going to have any issues talking about this subject of marketing on this podcast. So let's just try and unwind some of that. Let's just try and wind that into little things, because it's interesting, because we see a lot of photographers coming into fully booked photographer and thinking it's just about running Facebook ads, right? But what you've explained, and we know it's not. We all know as the mentor team it's not. And we say the importance of understanding your why and identifying your ideal client, because if you don't understand your ideal client, right, well then how do you stand out in your marketing? How do they even know you're talking to them? How do you encourage, there's so much noise out there. I can't remember the numbers, guys. Can any of you guys know the numbers, the amount of messages we get in a day now?
I don't, but keep talking, Ronan, I can find out.
Okay, so it's crazy anyway, guys, the amount of messages that you're bombarded with, right? So if you don't niche down to your ideal client, and if you can't create messaging that connects with that ideal client, and if your messaging can't tell them, the problem you're going to solve for them, like Jonathan has said it on a previous podcast, like your client is either moving away from pain or moving towards success, right? That's what they're doing. So unless your messaging and your offering is offering them that choice, whatever that might be, whether that's moving away from pain or moving towards success, well then it's not going to resonate with them. But that pain and that success would be different for everyone, right? So you can't just spray and pray. You can't just put out something in your marketing that is to appeal to everybody. And I think that's something we see all the time, guys, right? That I think it's an inherent fear that we're nearly afraid to niche down. But when we actually do the numbers, and you mentioned earlier, Janine, about needing 5 clients, right? Just 5 babies a week or a month or whatever that number was, right? It sounds so easy. But when you only need 5, well then how many babies are there in your location within traveling distance to your studio that are born every single year? And you're only looking for a tiny fraction of those. So why wouldn't you niche down to who's your ideal mom of those babies and communicate directly to that mom or that dad about, why this is important, why they need to book a photographic experience with you. What is this going to mean to them today, tomorrow, forever? Like it's not rocket science, but there's an inherent fear. What do you guys think? Is there a fear in people? Are they afraid they're going to miss out if they do identify their ideal client and niche down to that level?
No, I do think there is that fear. Because I had that fear. I had that fear of if I'm only going to go after, the working mom, what about the stay-at-home mom? What about her? Am I excluding her? Would they never call me? And I had that fear because obviously I would want to photograph the baby of a stay-at-home mom too. I had just identified for my niche that working moms' needs fit into my offering better. And so I did have that fear. And I was like, if I put all my wording to working moms, then the stay-at-home mom's not going to ever book me. And that wasn't the case. It just wasn't the case. But even if it was, you know what? There's plenty of enough working moms in the Tampa Bay area to fill my studio tenfold. And so that fear that we have is an unfounded fear. And it's the fear of the unknown. It's that fear that if you do something, even though the experts tell you to do it, and it's not just us, this is most marketing experts tell you to find who it is that you're talking to and talk directly to them, to find your ocean to swim in and to swim in an ocean that no one else is swimming in. So this isn't unique to us. But it's still scary. It is still a fear. And of course we have a fear. These are our businesses and we want them to succeed. And we fear that anything that we do that isn't everything is going to prevent us from succeeding. And that's just not the case. It's not the case. You don't have to be everything to everybody. And in fact, when you are everything to everybody, you fail miserably. And that's where the failure comes in. It's not in being specific and terrific for those that you serve. And that's what we have to be. We have to be amazing for the clients that we do bring into the studio. Not so-so and just okay for everybody.
I have a quote. Just come up with a quote.
I love a quote. What's your quote?
I'm going to take your quote, Janine. So we need to put this in inverted commas and say Ronan Ryle said this. So if you think it's about being everything to everyone, the result is you're no one to nobody.
You just stole my quote. I was literally about to say that.
So what you're all saying is I inspired you to have a quote and now you'll have the quote from the podcast. That's my high I, my disc profile. I'm the inspirational person.
Mine was your nothing to nobody, but
that's funny. I love it.
Everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody.
I prefer that. Yeah, but same.
Yeah,
line.
there you go.
We'll share it.
Turn that into a quote somehow.
The royal quote.
So, Brad, you were going to come in there, and I think you were going to talk to this.
I was just going to echo exactly what Janine said, because that was my own fear bred into me from my dad's fear. Is when my dad set the business up, he did everything. He worked through quite difficult times, and when you work through difficult times, you breed the sense of that you're going to be everybody's photographer. So he did everything to earn income, and obviously the business has matured to a point now where that's no longer the case. That what Janine and you two wonderful gentlemen have decided to claim has said is spot on. It is that there's riches in niches, and to niche down and to truly over deliver is something that I think all businesses should strive to do.
So, Janine, we see it in, like, you are the goddess of themed portraits for children. Like, you are, like, there's nobody who even touches you can shine your shoes, right? So, but we see our members all the time thinking, no, I'm going to run 8 themes this year, the problem there is they really haven't discovered what Jonathan talked about, their purpose and their why, or identified their ideal client, right? They think they can just copy you, but nobody can copy you because only you are you.
I don't know how to respond to that. Yes, it is a matter. I'll take this as to I understand my ideal client, and it was a journey, and I am me, and yes. So I discovered why themes work for me because it was a process for me to get there, and I understood why I photographed them, and it comes from that story of my daughter, and I think I've told this before, but I'll tell it really shortly again because we're running out of time. But when she was 7 or 8 and I realized that I was photographing her, but not really her, it was just me being, photographer, and she's a photographer kid, and I was photographing what she looked like. I wasn't taking into account what she wanted to have photographed, or what she really loved, or what her passion was at the age of 7. And so it was discussions I had with her that came up with my first real theme, which was the wizards, because she loved Harry Potter. I'm like, this is crazy. Why am I just going to do a photograph of her on a background in a cute outfit and say, hey, this is her 7-year portrait, when I could instead create this incredible experience for her and transform her into the wizard that she was dreaming she was, And so that's where the light bulb went for me. And I knew that if I was a mom and that was my child, that other moms out there were feeling those same things with their kids. They just didn't know they were feeling them. And so that became my mission, was to get moms to celebrate not just what their children looked like every year, but what their child's passion was. So then we have those collection of memories as well. That's my journey. That's what I want to instill with my clients. I want to see my clients multiple times a year. That's me. That my whole business plan is built around that. right? I'm not happy with my clients just coming in once a year or once every other year or once every 5 years. I want them in 3 times a year because I want that family feel. You know, I want to be part of their family. And I had a client say that to me this past week on a comment on Facebook, and it made me realize that what I'm doing is what I'm doing. And he said, Janine, you're not just a photographer, you're part of the family. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. I want to be part of their family. And so that's my why. That's what I seek. And that's how I build all of my offers and my promotions and my calendar for the studio, because that's me. You can't just take a piece of that. Just like I can never do boudoir. It would never work. It works fantastic for Brad. And it could be a shiny object. And I could be like, ooh, I could fill the nights at the studio by doing this. But it's not me. It's not my why. It doesn't go to my purpose. And so the marketing for it, I know would fall flat. It would, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit me and my why in my studio.
So Janine, I love this conversation because, you know, you did give this some thought, because one of your staff members was talking about, let's do boudoir, and you even said, like, you know, Cloud 9 Studios After Dark.
Yes, we did give it some thought.
Cloud 9 After Dark and all that. And, you know, and it went so far, and then, you know, your why and your purpose and your ideal client, even though your ideal client might have been interested in that, but because it didn't tick the box of aligning with your why and your purpose, you just didn't do it. You know, you weren't going to chase something that you weren't going to be excited about making a difference to people. It's just not what is for you. But in Brad's business, it's different, because that's what they do. That is their purpose. That is their why. And that's why this is critical. It's a critical part, isn't it, to not just your marketing, but to your business planning and your dreaming that we talked about in the first episode of this 9 series on creating a successful business. It's critical to have that why as a checkbox, as well as a reason why you exist and a reason why you get out of bed on a bad day and you're at work on a bad day. You know, that's why, right?
Yeah, and I think leading on to that point, another consideration in terms of marketing or online marketing is the fact that a lot of photographers lead with what and how, you know, and not the why they're taking these photographs. They talk about, oh, look at this amazing piece of artwork that I'm going to print on this amazing canvas or whatever album or folio box, or doesn't really matter, but they talk about product all the time. All their marketing is about them and their photography and their products. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Your clients don't care. Your clients care about the why. Why are they displaying this wall art? Or why do they have this folio box? What's the why behind it? Like, what's that deeper emotional reason behind it? They don't care about the folio box or the wall art or the album or whatever other products labs sell you. They don't care about that. But photographers always talk about that. Look at me, my amazing photography and my amazing products. Your clients don't care. Stop making your marketing about you.
Ooh, I really think we should finish on that line. What do you guys think? Stop making your marketing about you.
I like when Jonathan gets profound.
I've claimed 1.5 quotes this episode. That's a win.
It's his beard. The beard brings out the profoundness.
No, don't go.
Oh, yeah. I think it is. It's like your superhero cape.
Your superhero cape. I love that. So, Jonathan, you're not allowed to shave your cape. Superman would not throw away his red cape. He'd just keep it. All right. So, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this second part of this 9-part series on creating a successful business. And we have a special gift for you if you haven't taken it up yet. In the show notes below, there's a link to our whole training program around this. So we've talked about the what today, but there'll be more of the how and how to do this in the training. So just click on the link and go to the 9 keys to creating a successful photography business. It's our gift to you. We hope you enjoy it. If you have any comments on that or feedback, just put it in the reviews below, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, and of course press that subscribe button so you get more of the genius that these 3 people bring to you every single week. So we're there for you. That's linked to our why, which we won't go into now. But our why is about helping you turn your passion for photography into profit, and together we amplify the creation of a healthier society through photography. So we'll see you all soon. That's it for this podcast. Bye for now.